Hello students, myself Shinalisha welcomes you on behalf of Saraswat International Academy. Students, today we will begin with the next part of the chapter Plant Kingdom. In the last video, we have studied regarding the bryophytes. Today we will begin with the pteridophytes. Now students, the word pteridophyte is derived from the Greek words. The term pteron, it means feather, and phyton, it means plant. So feather-like plants, the pteridophytes commonly called as the feather-like plants. Now these pteridophytes are also called as the reptiles of plant kingdom. Now students, we know that reptiles, they are the true land animals. They are the first true land animals which have evolved after the amphibians. Same way, pteridophytes, they are the first true land plants which have evolved after the bryophytes, and we know that bryophytes were known as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. So the pteridophytes, they are called as the reptiles of the plant kingdom because they have evolved from the bryophytes which were known as the amphibians of the plant kingdoms, like the reptiles which were the first true land animals which evolved after the amphibians. Now students, the pteridophytes, they are also called as the vascular cryptogams. That is, they are the vascular plant, which means they contain the vascular tissue. Vascular tissues or conducting tissues like xylem and phloem, they are present in them. Bryophytes, they were devoid of xylem and phloem, but pteridophytes, they are the vascular plants which consist of the vascular tissue, xylem and phloem. But students, we need to keep in mind that they are not completely successful terrestrial plants. They are not completely successful terrestrial plants because they need water for fertilization, and as they need water for fertilization, they too grow in the shady and moist places. Now students, which plants are included in pteridophytes? So they include horsetails and ferns. Normally they are used for medicinal purposes as well as they are used as the soil binders. They are frequently grown as the ornamentals. So basically they will be grown for the ornamental purpose. Evolutionary, they are the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues. I told you earlier, that is, they are the first plant to possess xylem and phloem. They are found in cool, damp, shady places, though some may flourish well in sandy soil conditions. Now, we know that in bryophytes, the body was not differentiated into two roots, two stem and two leaves. But students, in pteridophytes, the plant body is differentiated into root, stem and leaves. But here students, their primary root is short-lived. So basically, जो first root उनका जो होता है, that is short-lived, and therefore it is replaced by the adventitious roots. Adventitious roots are the roots which develops from some other parts of the plants, like they may develop from the stem, etc. So the body is well differentiated into root, stem and leaves. Their primary roots are short-lived and therefore they are replaced by the adventitious roots. The stem here is erect or prostrate, that is, either it may be an erect stem or it may lie on the ground. Now students, when we talk about their leaves, so on the basis of the leaves, the pteridophytes can be divided into two types. The two types are megaphyllous. Mega means large. Phyllis means leaf. It is a two word. Mega, it means larger, bada. Phyllis, it means leaves. So what are megaphyllous pteridophytes? Those pteridophytes where the stem is smaller but the leaves are larger. What are they called as? They are called as the megaphyllous. Mega yani large and phyllis yani leaves. So those pteridophytes with larger leaves are called as the megaphyllous pteridophytes. Microphyllous. Micro, it means small. Phyllis, it means leaves. So what are microphyllous pteridophytes? They are those pteridophytes के जहाँ पे stem is larger but the leaves are smaller. So what are they called as? Microphyllous. Micro, small, phylous means leaves. So pteridophytes with larger stem but smaller leaves, what are they called as? Microphyllous pteridophytes. So on the basis of leaves, the pteridophytes can be classified into two types. Megaphyllous pteridophytes where leaves are larger, stem is smaller. Microphyllous where leaves are smaller but stem is larger. Now students, general characteristics. Here there is also mention about the life cycle, but in the later part of the chapter, in the later part of this video also, we will separately study the life cycle. Here also it is included, but in later part of the chapter also we will be dealing with the life cycle of the pteridophytes. Now in pteridophytes, the main plant body is sporophytes. So students, that is a difference between the bryophytes and pteridophytes. ब्रायोफाइट्स में हमने देखा था कि उनका जो मेन प्लांट बॉडी क्या था, गैमेटोफाइट. बट स्टूडेंट्स, नाउ ऑनवर्ड ऑल द प्लांट्स they will be having their main plant body as sporophyte, and here this sporophyte is differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. These organs, that is stem, root and leaves, they possess well differentiated vascular tissues. The leaves in Pteridophyta are small like microphyls. I told you micro, small, phylls means leaves. Like in the Shilajinella, or they may be large called as macrophylls as in the ferns. Now, the sporophytes, they bear the sporangia that are subtended by the leaf-like appendages called as the sporophylls. What does that means? The sporophyte जो होता है, their main plant body is sporophyte. Now, this sporophyte, they possess the leaf-like appendages. So, those leaf-like appendages are called as sporophylls. And these sporophylls, they have the sporangia, which are subtended. Subtended यानी which lie close to or beneath to or on the boundary. So, basically, leaf के पास क्या होता है? Sporangia होता है. This will be more clear when we will study the life cycle in the later part of the video. Now, in some cases, the sporophylls, they form the compact structures, and these compact structures are called as strobili or cones. So, students, the leaf possess the sporangia. Now, these leaves, basically they form the sporophylls. The leaf-like structures are called as sporophylls. So, these sporophylls, sometimes they form a compact distinct structure, and this compact distinct structure is called as strobili or cones. It may be present in Shilajinella, Equisetum, etc. Now, what is the function of the sporangia? So, sporangia, it consists of the spore mother cells, and this spore mother cell, it produces the spores by the process of meiosis. I told you sporocytes, basically the plant body, gametophyte and sporophyte. Sporophyte, we know alternation of generation. Sporophyte will be responsible for the formation of spores, and gametophyte will be responsible for the formation of the gametes. So, here sporophyte, it consists of the sporangia. This sporangia consists of the spore mother cells, and this spore mother cells, by the process of meiosis, develops the spores. Now, these spores then germinate and give rise to inconspicuous, small but multicellular, flea-living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte, which is called as the prothallus. See students, here what is happening? यहाँ पे मेन प्लांट बॉडी स्पोरोफाइट है. स्पोरोफाइट bears the sporophylls. This sporophylls consist of the sporangia. Sporangia consist of the spore mother cells. These spore mother cells divide by meiosis and produces the spores. Now these spores, they germinate and they develop the inconspicuous, small but a multicellular, free-living, photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte, which is called as the prothallus. यानी स्पोर्स के जर्मिनेशन से क्या बनता है? गैमेटोफाइट. ये जो गैमेटोफाइट है यहाँ पे उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? प्रोथैलस. How is this prothallus? It is small, but it is multicellular and it is free living. जैसे हमने ब्रायोफाइट्स में देखा था कि मेन प्लांट बॉडी गैमेटोफाइट थी. गैमेटोफाइट क्या बनाता था? स्पोरोफाइट. लेकिन ये स्पोरोफाइट किसके ऊपर डिपेंडेंट था? गैमेटोफाइट पे. लेकिन यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं है. स्पोरोफाइट will develop the gametophyte and this gametophyte is independent of the sporophyte. ये खुद अपना काम करता है. It is photosynthetic. But this gametophyte it is a thalloid body. यानी यहाँ पे प्रॉपर रूट स्टेम लीफ नहीं है. प्रॉपर रूट स्टेम और लीफ किसके पास है? स्पोरोफाइट के पास. जबकि गैमेटोफाइट कैसा है? इट इज़ मल्टीसेल्यूलर बट इट इज़ थैलॉइड. थैलॉइड यानी the body is not well differentiated into root, stem or leaves. Now these gametophytes they require cool, damp and shady places to grow, and because of this specific restricted requirement and need for water for fertilization, the spread of living pteridophyte is limited and restricted to narrow geographical regions. Now pteridophytes they occur in specific regions only. Why they grow in a particular area only? The reason is basically their requirement to grow in cool, damp and shady places. अभी cool, damp and shady places geographically हर जगह पे available नहीं भी हो सकती है. And another thing is they require the water for the fertilization. So due to this two limited requirements, they grow in the limited areas. Now I told you that sporophytes will develop this form the spores. These spores will germinate and form the gametophyte. The gametophyte here is called as prothallus. It is free living, it is multicellular, it is photosynthetic, right? But it is thalloid. यानी यहाँ पे in the gametophyte of pteridophytes there is no proper root, stem and leaves. But yes, sporophyte possess well developed root, stem and leaves. But इसका जो gametophyte है it does not possess true roots, true stem or true leaves. Now what gametophyte consists of? The gametophyte develops the male and female sex organs. The male sex organ is called as antheridia. Female sex organ is called as archegonia. Now same thing, the male sex organ will develop the male sex gametes or male gametes which are called as antherozoids. The female sex organ that is archegonia develops the female gamete that is an egg. Now students, here also water is required for the transfer of antherozoids. जैसे bryophytes में male gamete used to swim in water and reach the female gamete, same thing occurs here. Water is very much required for fertilization. Male gamete that is antherozoids, it swims in the water to reach the archegonium that is a female gamete and then enters into that archegonium where it will fuse with the egg. So water is required for the transfer of antherozoid which is the male gamete which is released from the antheridia to the mouth of the archegonium. Fusion of male gamete with the egg present in the archegonium result in the formation of the zygote. So antheridium will release the male gamete, that male gamete that is antherozoid will move to the mouth of the archegonium in the presence of the water and then it fuses with the egg to form the zygote. The zygote thereafter produces, now zygote it is diploid. See, गैमेटोफाइट जो बना वो कैसा था? हेप्लॉइड है. स्पोरोफाइट कैसा है? डिप्लॉइड है. गैमेटोफाइट ने क्या बना है? गैमेट्स. गैमेट्स कैसे है? हेप्लॉइड. मेल गैमेट एंड फीमेल गैमेट का फ्यूजन हुआ तो कैसा स्ट्रक्चर बना? डिप्लॉइड. अभी सो zygote is which type of structure? Diploid. Now this zygote it develops a multicellular well differentiated sporophyte which is the dominant phase of the pteridophytes. Yani zygote will then develop the sporophyte and that sporophyte is the dominant phase of the pteridophytes. Now students जो spores की बात हमने की, So in majority of the pteridophytes, spores are of similar kinds. So such plants are called as homosporous. So in most of the pteridophytes जो spores होते हैं, they are similar in morphology. Such pteridophytes are called as the homosporous. But there are exceptions. In the genus like Shilajinella and Salvinia, यहाँ पे it produces two kinds of spores. Some spores are larger spores which are called as macrospores, and some spores are smaller spores which are called as the microspores. So those pteridophytes like Shilajinella and Salvinia which develops two kinds of spores, that is microspores and megaspores, such pteridophytes are called as heterosporous. Hetero यानी different. They produce two different kinds of spores. Homo यानी same. So those pteridophytes which produce the similar spores are called as homosporous, and those pteridophytes like Shilajinella and Salvinia which develops two different kinds of spores, what are they called as heterosporous. Now students, I told you the spores they develop and they give rise to the spores का germination होकर क्या बनता है, gametophyte बनता है, right? So students, those plants which are heterosporous, those pteridophytes which are heterosporous यानी उनमें दो different kinds के spores है. Some spores are smaller in size called as microspores, some spores are larger in size and they are called as the megaspores. So in such pteridophytes, जब मेगास्पोर का जर्मिनेशन होता है, then it gives rise to the female gametophyte, and when microspores germinate they develop the male gametophyte. Students, very very important, listen very carefully. Those pteridophytes which are heterosporous, that is which produce two different kinds of spores, in them the microspores germination result in the formation of the male gametophyte, and megaspores germination results into the formation of the female gametophyte. Now this female gametophyte, they are retained on the parent sporophyte for the variable periods. यानी जो हेटेरोस्पोरस टेरिडोफाइट्स है उसमें से जो मेगास्पोर्स फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट डेवलप करने वाला है, वो फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट जब उसका डेवलपमेंट होता है तो किसके ऊपर डेवलपमेंट होता है, स्पोरोफाइट. अब तक हमने ये देखा टेरिडोफाइट में कि नॉर्मली गैमेटोफाइट एंड स्पोरोफाइट दे आर इंडिपेंडेंट ऑफ ईच अदर, बट इन द हेटेरोस्पोरस pteridophyte the female gametophyte is retained on the sporophytic plant. यानी in the heterosporous pteridophytes the female gametophyte is developed on the sporophytic plant. वो independent नहीं होता है. The development of the zygote into the young ones takes place within the female gametophyte. Okay, listen very carefully. अभी तक जो होमोस्पोरस होते हैं वो क्या होता है, स्पोर्स जर्मिनेट हो गए, वो रिलीज़ हो गए, एंड देन क्या हो गया, कम्प्लीटली स्पोरोफाइटिक डेवलपमेंट स्टार्ट हो गया. जबकि हेटेरोस्पोरस गैमेटोफाइट्स, हेटेरोस्पोरस टेरिडोफाइट्स जो है उनमें क्या होता है, पहली बात ये है कि फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट इज़ डेवलप्ड ऑन द पेरेंट स्पोरोफाइटिक प्लांट. ओके, बाद में फर्टिलाइजेशन होगा, जाइगोट का फॉर्मेशन होगा, जाइगोट एम्ब्रियो में कन्वर्ट होगा. सो ऑल दिस प्रोसेस अकर्स ऑन द फीमेल गैमेटोफाइटिक प्लांट्स, एंड देयरफॉर as the development of the zygote and embryo occurs within the female gametophyte, this event is considered as a precursor. precursor यानी कुछ पहला ऐसा सब्सटेंस बनता है जो प्रॉपर एक नया एक्टिव सब्सटेंस का फॉर्मेशन करेगा. सो दिस इवेंट, दैट इज़ द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द zygote into the young ones which takes place inside the female gametophyte. This event is considered as an important event for the development of the seed habit, which is a very important step in the evolution. ब्रायोफाइट्स आपने देखा, टेरिडोफाइट्स देखा, इसमें कहीं पे भी सीड का अभी फॉर्मेशन नहीं हुआ, लेकिन हेटेरोस्पोरस जो भी टेरिडोफाइट्स है, they are the precursors for the formation of the seed habits. That is, gymnosperms में seeds का formation हुआ. So this event, that is development of the zygote into the embryos within the female gametophyte, this event is considered as a precursor event to the seed habit, which is considered as an important step of the evolution. Now students, these are the diagrams. See students, this is Selaginella and this is Equisetum. You can see that these are the roots, these are the leaves, the stem. You can see. And this is Equisetum, branch hai, internodes hai, nodes hai, strobilus. So this is a strobilus, that is the structure which will bear the sporangia and spores. This is a fern, this is the Salvinia. Now see students, this is again Selaginella. You can see its dorsal view, this is its ventral view. You can see the difference, and these are its cone, or you can say strobili. Now see students, again the same thing. These are the dorsal view, ventral view. You can see the megasporangium. This is the microsporangium. Okay, and see these are the sporangiums. Now this is the fern plant के जहाँ पे sori is found underneath the frond. Frond is a leaf, right? So below the leaf spori are found. ये sori का क्रॉस सेक्शन देखोगे तो इसके अंदर आप देखोगे क्या है, स्पोरेंजिया है. स्पोरेंजिया के पास क्या है, स्पोर्स है. ओके, स्पोरेंजिया ने किसका डेवलपमेंट किया, स्पोर्स का. स्पोर्स का जर्मिनेशन हुआ तो किसका फॉर्मेशन हुआ, प्रोथैलस. प्रोथैलस यानी गैमेटोफाइट. गैमेटोफाइट ने फिर किसका डेवलपमेंट किया, मैच्योर फर्न विच इज़ अ स्पोरोफाइटिक प्लांट. See students, here you can see the leaf. I told you that leaf consists of the sporangia, and this sporangia are organized into sori. So see students, this is a leaf which consists of the sori, and ये sori का cross section है कि जिसके अंदर क्या है, sporangia है. So see students, these are the various sori with the sporangia. You can see the leaf which consists of the sori. These all are the sori, and within this sori are what, sporangia. See, these all are the sori. Again, these all are the sori. You can see how, see, this is, it is present in this leaf. You can see that the sori are present on the margin of the leaves. These are the various kinds of cones or strobilus. This is one cone. Here you can see the cone. These are the cones. These are the cones of the various types of the pteridophytes. Now students, हमने अभी लाइफ साइकिल स्टडी कर ही ली, बट बाय स्टडिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग, पीछे जो हमने अभी जो देखा उसका थोड़ा और ज़्यादा क्लियर पिक्चर आपको होगा. सो वी विल बी स्टडिंग रिगार्डिंग द लाइफ साइकिल ऑफ द pteridophytes. Now the plant is sporophyte, that is main plant body of a pteridophyte is sporophyte. Sporophyte always कैसा होता है, डिप्लॉयड होता है. एंड वो क्या, कैसे जर्मिनेट हो गए या कैसे रिप्रोड्यूस हो गए, दे रिप्रोड्यूस बाय द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द स्पोर्स. नाउ I told you that most of the pteridophytes are homosporous, that is they produce only one types of the spores. But there is an exception. There are some pteridophytes which are heterosporous, and they produce two types of spores, microspores and megaspores. ये हमने अभी देखा. Now where are spores developed? Normally the spores formation takes place in the sporangia. Where the spores are formed? They are formed in the sporangia. Now where are these sporangia developed? So sporangia are developed on the abaxial surface of the leaf. It means they are developed on the lower surface of the leaves. See students, listen very carefully. ये life cycles याद से ध्यान से सुनो. It is very easier for you to remember. Main plant body is sporophyte. It develops by the spore formation. In most of the pteridophytes, they are homosporous. That is, they produce one type of spore. But there are exceptions of some pteridophytes which are heterosporous, and they produce two kinds of spores. One is microspores, and other is megaspores. Now where are spores developed? So spores are developed in the structure called as sporangia. Now ये sporangia कहाँ पे होता है? तो sporangia are present on the abaxial. Abaxial it means lower surface of the leaves. Now those leaves which have the sporangia, they are called as the sporophylls. ऐसा नहीं है कि each and every leaves will have the sporangia. So students remember very carefully, those leaves which contain the sporangia, they are called as the sporophylls, which are called as the reproductive leaves. यानी वो reproduction में helpful करने वाले हैं. And normal photosynthetic leaves are called as tropophylls. यानी जो leaves सिर्फ photosynthesis करते हैं, जिनके ऊपर sporangia नहीं है, such leaves are called as the tropophylls or also called as the vegetative leaves. But students, you have to keep in mind that in the pteridophytes जो स्पोरोफिल्स है वो भी कैसे है, फोटोसिंथेटिक है. यानी जो लीव्स के ऊपर स्पोरेंजिया है उसको हम बोलते हैं स्पोरोफिल्स. ये स्पोरोफिल्स भी फोटोसिंथेसिस का काम करती है. एंड दिस इज़ एन यूनिक फीचर ऑफ द टेरिडोफाइट्स. बाकी सब में आप यही देखोगे कि सिर्फ ट्रोपोफिल्स जो है वो फोटोसिंथेटिक है. बट इन द टेरिडोफाइट्स द स्पोरोफिल्स वो लीफ है कि जिसके ऊपर स्पोरेंजिया है. ये लीव्स भी फोटोसिंथेसिस का काम करते हैं. एंड दिस इज़ अ यूनिक प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ द टेरिडोफाइट्स. नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, आई टोल्ड यू that spores are formed in the sporangia. And where are these sporangia present? They are present on the leaf which are called as the sporophylls. Now this sporangia they occur in groups. Sporangia कैसे होते हैं? ग्रुप में होते हैं. What are this group called as? Sorus. Its plural form is sori. So where are sori found? Sori, what is sori? The group of sporangia. Where are sporangia found? On the sporophylls. So of course sori will be found on the sporophylls. Now this sporangia, it consists of the spore mother cells. Now spores are formed within the sporangium by meiosis in the spore mother cells, and this spore starts the gametophytic generation. So sporangia consist of spore mother cells. These spore mother cells divide by meiosis and form the spores, and these spores when germinate, it starts the gametophytic generation. Germination of spores is exosporic. Exosporic यानी कहाँ पे? It takes place outside the sporangia, that is it takes place in the soil. जबकि हमने ब्रायोफाइट में ये देखा था कि गैमेटोफाइट के ऊपर ही स्पोरोफाइट का डेवलपमेंट होता था, लेकिन यहाँ पे स्पोर्स का जर्मिनेशन कैसा है? एक्जोस्पोरिक. एक्जो यानी आउटसाइड. सो इट टेक्स प्लेस आउटसाइड द स्पोरेंजिया इन द सॉइल. In soil, a gametophyte is formed by germination of each spore, which is known as prothallus. So spores they will be released into the soil. सॉइल में स्पोर का जर्मिनेशन से गैमेटोफाइट बनेगा, एंड हियर द गैमेटोफाइट इज कॉल्ड एज प्रोथेलस. यानी आप देख सकते हो कि स्पोरोफाइटिक प्लांट एंड गैमेटोफाइटिक प्लांट्स दे आर डिस्टिंक्ट प्लांट. दोनों अलग अलग सॉइल में डेवलपमेंट होता है दोनों का. The formation of the sporophytic takes place, the formation of the gametophyte, it occurs in the soil, and therefore it is free, that is it is independent and mostly photosynthetic. So spores they are liberated into the soil where they germinate and form the gametophyte. Now as the gametophyte develops in the soil, its development is free, यानी वो किसके ऊपर डिपेंडेंट नहीं है, and it is mostly photosynthetic. Now students, the gametophyte it requires cool, damp, shady places to grow. I told you earlier, and because of this restricted development, we see that they are found only in the particular regions. Now in certain cases the prothallus is saprophytic. नॉर्मली प्रोथेरस कैसा होता है? फोटोसिंथेटिक. वो अपना फूड खुद ही बनाता है. बट इन सम केसेस दे आर सेप्रोफाइटिक, दैट इज दे ऑब्टेन द फूड बाय द decaying of the organic material. There is no relation between the main sporophytic plant and prothallus. यानी the prothallus यानी जो gametophyte है and main sporophytic plant है, ये दोनों के बीच में कोई भी रिलेशन नहीं है. Both of them are the independent plants, right? जबकि ब्रायोफाइट में हमने ये देखा था कि गैमेटोफाइट के ऊपर स्पोरोफाइट का डेवलपमेंट होता है, ये दोनों अटैच्ड होते हैं. जबकि यहाँ पे बोथ स्पोरोफाइट एंड गैमेटोफाइट दैट इज प्रोथैलस दे आर डिफरेंट प्लांट्स. ये दोनों का डेवलपमेंट इंडिपेंडेंटली होता है. The prothallus, that is gametophytic plant, it is made up of thallus and rhizoids. It is non-vascular. हाँ, ये बात इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि यहाँ पे जो गैमेटोफाइट है वो कैसा है, थैलॉइड है, एंड उसके पास ट्रू स्टेम, ट्रू लीव्स या ट्रू रूट्स नहीं है. इंस्टेड ऑफ दैट इट कंसिस्ट, रूट्स की जगह पे राइजॉइड है एंड ये नॉन वस्क्यूलर है. गैमेटोफाइट ऑफ टेरिडोफाइट इज नॉन वस्क्यूलर but its sporophyte is vascular. Very 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 important students. In plant kingdom gametophyte is always non vascular. पूरे ब्रायोफाइट्स की बात करें, टेरिडोफाइट्स की बात करें, आगे आप जिम्नोस्पर्म स्टडी करोगे, एंजियोस्पर्म स्टडी करोगे, ऑलवेज गैमेटोफाइट विल बी नॉन वस्क्यूलर. उसके पास कभी भी कंडक्टिंग टिश्यूज होंगे नहीं. नाउ इन होमोस्पोरस टेरिडोफाइट्स, यानी कि जो टेरिडोफाइट्स सिमिलर काइंड के स्पोर्स बनाते हैं, इन देम गैमेटोफाइट इज मोनोएशियस. नाउ व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय द टर्म मोनोएशियस? इट मीन्स द मेल एंड फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव ऑर्गन्स विल बी डेवलप्ड ऑन द सेम प्लांट. सो होमोस्पोरस टेरिडोफाइट में मेल गैमेटोफाइट एंड फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट एक ही प्लांट पे बनेगा. The formation of the sex organs takes place on the gametophyte. Male sex organs are called antheridium, female sex organs are called archegonium. The formation of male gametes takes place in the antheridia, which are called as antherozoids. Antherozoids are spiral and multiflagellated, but exceptionally antherozoids of Selaginella are spindle shaped and biflagellated. Egg is formed in the archegonium. Fertilization occurs by zoidogamy. What do you mean by zoidogamy? Male gamete swims in the water to reach the female gamete, and zygote is formed as a result of fertilization. Zygote develops and forms the embryo. Embryo develops and forms the sporophytic plant, which consists of roots, stem and leaves. See students, now how the development occurs. Those pteridophytes which are homosporous, in them each spore will germinate and develop the, what it develops? It develops the gametophyte. Now on this gametophyte will consist of the, basically जो homosporous pteridophytes होते हैं, they are which type of plant? Monoecious. Monoecious यानी मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव ऑर्गन्स एंड फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव ऑर्गन्स एक ही प्लांट में डेवलप हो गए. नाउ द मेल गैमेटोफाइट कंसिस्ट ऑफ द मेल सेक्स ऑर्गन्स एंथ्रीडियम एंड द आर्चिगोनियम इज कॉल्ड एज द फीमेल सेक्स ऑर्गन. मेल सेक्स ऑर्गन मेल गैमेट का फॉर्मेशन करेगा, विच आर कॉल्ड एज एंथेरोजॉइड्स. एंथेरोजॉइड्स का शेप कैसा है? स्पाइरल, एंड दे आर मल्टीफ्लैजेलेटेड. दे कंसिस्ट ऑफ मैनी फ्लैजेला. बट एक्सेप्शन किसका है? शिलेजिनेला, कि जिसका एंथेरोजॉइड स्पिंडल शेप है एंड वो बाइफ्लैजेलेटेड है. आर्चिगोनियम विच इज़ अ फीमेल सेक्स ऑर्गन, इट विल फॉर्म द एग. फिर एग एंड एंथेरोजॉइड्स का क्या होगा? फर्टिलाइजेशन. कैसे? जोइडोगेमी. व्हाट इज जोइडोगेमी? वी हैव स्टडीड इन ब्रायोफाइट्स, दैट इज मेल गैमेट स्विम्स इन द वाटर टू रीच द फीमेल गैमेट, एंड आफ्टर फर्टिलाइजेशन जाइगोट इज फॉर्म. जाइगोट किस में कन्वर्ट होगा? एम्ब्रियो में. एंड एम्ब्रियो क्या अभी बनाएगा? अ स्पोरोफाइटिक प्लांट विच कंसिस्ट ऑफ रूट, स्टेम्स एंड लीव्स. सो स्टूडेंट्स, वन इम्पॉर्टेंट नोट, सेक्शुअल रिप्रोडक्शन इज ऑलवेज oogamous, यानी मेल गैमेट स्मॉलर होता है एंड मोटाइल होता है, फीमेल गैमेट विल बी लार्जर एंड नॉन मोटाइल. They consist of haplodiplontic type of life cycle. What is haplodiplontic life cycle? That is the haploid and diploid stage, यानी जो स्पोरोफाइट है एंड गैमेटोफाइट है, ये दोनों का बेसिकली they will be having their independent plant structure. The unique characteristic is independent alternation of generation. That is, gametophyte and sporophyte, they are independent of each other. So one important characteristic of the pteridophyte is independent alternation of generation. यानी स्पोरोफाइट एंड गैमेटोफाइट ये दोनों डिफरेंट प्लांट्स है, ये दोनों का एग्जिस्टेंस इंडिपेंडेंट है. नाउ अभी तक हमने ये देखा कि जो होमोस्पोरस है उसमें डेवलपमेंट कैसे होता है. नाउ व्हाट अबाउट द हेटेरोस्पोरस टेरिडोफाइट? सो दैट कंडीशन इज कॉल्ड एज हेटेरोस्पोरी. इन फ्यू टेरिडोफाइट्स टू टाइप्स ऑफ स्पोर्स आर फॉर्म्ड, microspores and megaspores in the microsporangium and megasporangium respectively. So where are spores developed? In the sporangia. So जो heterosporous pteridophytes है उनमें दो टाइप के स्पोर्स होते हैं, माइक्रोस्पोर्स एंड मैक्रोस्पोर्स, मेगास्पोर्स. So microspores are developed in the microsporangium, megaspores are developed in the megasporangium. And this phenomenon is known as heterospory or heterosporous condition. What is heterospory? The pteridophytes which develops the two types of the spores. Now students, in heterosporous pteridophytes, the microspore produces the male gametophyte, megaspore produces the female gametophyte. हमने पहले देख लिया, microspore male gametophyte बनाएगा, and megaspore female gametophyte बनाएगा. Hence the gametophyte in these plants are dioecious, जबकि in the homosporous condition it was monoecious. monoecious यानी एक ही प्लांट पे मेल गैमेटोफाइट एंड फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट डेवलप होता है, बट यहाँ पे मेल एंड फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट आर डेवलप्ड ऑन द डिफरेंट प्लांट्स, राइट? एंड व्हाट इज दैट कंडीशन कॉल्ड एज dioecious. Now what happens? The development of the zygote into young one takes place within the female gametophyte. zygote का development किसके अंदर होगा? Inside the female gametophyte. And the female gametophyte, as I told you earlier, it is retained to the parent sporophyte for the variable period of the time. And this is considered as a precursor event. Precursor यानी कोई ऐसा substance जो नया कोई एक्टिव या मैच्योर सब्सटेंस का फॉर्मेशन करेगा. सो हमने यहाँ पे क्या देखा हेटेरोस्पोरी में कि फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट के अंदर जाइगोट या किस में कन्वर्ट होता है? एम्ब्रियो. एंड ये जो फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट है वो किसके ऊपर अटैच्ड है? टू द पेरेंट स्पोरोफाइट. एंड दिस इवेंट इज कंसिडर्ड एज द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक और वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द सीड हैबिट. एंड दिस सीड हैबिट यानी सीड का फॉर्मेशन के लिए दिस इवेंट इज कंसिडर्ड मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट एंड हैंस इट इज प्लेइंग अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल इन इवोल्यूशन. The development of the male and female gametophyte in these plants takes place in the microsporangium and megasporangium respectively. Hence the gametophytes are not completely independent and are not very much developed. So they are generally not completely regarded as a prothallus. Now जो heterosporous pteridophytes है उसमें जो मेल एंड फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट है वो किस में डेवलप होते हैं? माइक्रोस्पोरेंजियम एंड मेगास्पोरेंजियम के अंदर. यानी जो गैमेटोफाइट है वो इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं है, वो किस में डेवलप होते हैं? किसके अंदर? इनटू द स्पोरेंजिया. एंड देयरफॉर दे आर नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ प्रोथेलस. प्रोथेलस क्या है? जो होमोस्पोर्स कंडीशन में स्पोर्स खुद अपना डेवलपमेंट सॉइल में अपने आप करते हैं, जबकि यहाँ पे कहाँ पे होता है? स्पोरेंजियम के अंदर. So students, this is a brief outline of your life cycle of the pteridophytes. Main plant body is sporophyte. वो कैसा होता है? Diploid. Sporophyte के पास sporophylls होते हैं. Sporophylls are the leaf which consist of the sporangia. Sporangia के अंदर क्या होता है? Spore mother cells. स्पोर मदर सेल्स क्या करता है? मियोसिस। एंड किसका डेवलपमेंट होता है? स्पोर्स। सो यहाँ तक जो है वो स्पोरोफाइटिक जनरेशन। जैसे ही स्पोर्स बने, अभी कौन सा जनरेशन स्टार्ट हो गया? गैमेटोफाइटिक। स्पोर विल डेवलप बाय माइटोसिस and what it results in the formation of gametophyte. Gametophyte is called as what? Prothallus. Now what this gametophyte consists of? Sex organs. That is antheridia, which is male sex organ, archegonia, which is a female sex organ. Antheridia develops the antherozoids, that is the male gametes. Archegonia develops the egg, that is a female gamete. The egg and antherozoids, they will fuse, that is fertilization. Zoidiogamy, that is eggs, basically antherozoids, they swim in the water, or basically through the medium of water they reach the egg. What is formed? Zygote. The starting of the zygote marks the start of the sporophytic generation. Zygote will develop into embryo, and this embryo will form the new sporophytic plant with the root, stem and leaves. Again, this is main plant body sporophyte. Sporophyte consists of microspore. अगर ये heterosporous है तो microsporophyll, megasporophyll. Microsporophyll consists of microsporangium, megasporophyll, megasporangium. It forms the microspores by meiosis, and megasporangium by meiosis forms megaspores. Microspores develop into male gametophyte, megaspore into female gametophyte. The male gametophyte consists of the male sex organ antheridium, female gametophyte archegonium. Antheridium develops the male gamete antherozoid, archegonium develops the female gamete, that is egg. Both these eggs and antherozoid fuse, zygote. Zygote will form the embryo. Embryo will develop into the young sporophytic plant, which develops the main sporophyte. So students, this is regarding the life cycle of the pteridophytes. Now we will deal with the classification of the pteridophytes. We won't be studying it in detail, only we will be studying the 4 classes, their names of the classes and the examples. We won't be studying it in detail. So now these pteridophytes are divided into 4 classes. The first class is Psilopsida. The example is Xyloterm. Then Lycopsida, which includes Shilleginella and Lycopodium. Sphenopsida, which includes Equisetum, and Pteropsida, which includes Dryopteris, Pteris and Adiantum. So these are the 4 classes of the pteridophytes: Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida and Pteropsida. So this is the complete description regarding the pteridophytes. So I end my lecture here, students. Today we have studied in detail regarding the pteridophytes, their general characters, their life cycle, and also in brief we have studied regarding the classification of pteridophytes. I end my lecture here. Thank you, students.